London, 1842. The silver brush slipped from Rose's trembling fingers, clattering against the marble floor of Lady Pemberton's dressing chamber. Another ball. Another evening watching carriages arrive through the servants' entrance while she prepared her mistress's hair. Rose picked up the brush, her reflection catching in the ornate mirror. Golden curls escaped from beneath her simple white cap. Green eyes that her mother once said held too much curiosity for a servant girl. At 19, she had already spent 5 years in service, watching the glittering world of the Tun from its shadows. Lady Pemberton sat patiently as Rose resumed her work, pinning diamonds into graying hair. "You seem distracted tonight, child." Rose's hand stilled. "Forgive me, my lady. I was only thinking how beautiful you'll look at the Ashford ball." The older woman turned, studying Rose with kind eyes that had seen too much of the world's cruelty. "You know, Rose, you remind me of myself at your age. My lady, full of dreams that seemed impossibly far away." Lady Pemberton rose from her chair, moving to the window where music drifted from the neighboring Ashford estate. "I wasn't always a lady, you know. My husband elevated me when we married. Before that, I was merely the daughter of a country vicar." Rose's heart ached with a longing she couldn't name. "At least you had a chance, my lady." "Yes, I did." The carriage arrived, and Rose helped her mistress into her evening cloak. Lady Pemberton paused at the door. "I'll be quite late. Don't wait up for me, dear." The door closed with a soft click. Rose stood alone in the elegant chamber, surrounded by silk and jewels that would never be hers. The music from the Ashford estate grew louder, a waltz floating through the night air like a siren's call. She moved to the window. Carriages lined the street. Ladies in jeweled gowns swept up the grand staircase. Gentlemen in dark tailcoats bowed and offered their arms. A world so close she could touch it through the glass, yet infinitely far away. Rose turned from the window, intending to retreat to the servants' quarters. But her eyes fell upon the wardrobe. Lady Pemberton's wardrobe. The door stood slightly ajar, revealing a glimpse of emerald silk. No, she shouldn't even think it. But her feet moved of their own accord. Her fingers trembled as they touched the fabric. The gown was new, ordered from Paris but deemed too youthful when it arrived. Lady Pemberton had worn it only once, declaring it better suited for someone Rose's age. The music swelled. A quadrille. Then another waltz. Rose pulled the gown from the wardrobe, holding it against herself. In the mirror, she saw not a servant but a lady. Her golden curls, freed from their cap, tumbled over bare shoulders. The green silk matched her eyes perfectly. What harm could 1 hour cause? She would slip in through the garden entrance. Dance perhaps once, maybe twice. No one would know her there. She'd seen enough balls through cracked doors and servant passages to know how to curtsy, how to hold a fan, how to glide across a floor. Just 1 hour. 1 hour to feel what it might be like to belong. Before reason could reclaim her, Rose was dressed. The gown fit as though made for her. She found silk slippers that pinched only slightly. A simple gold necklace from Lady Pemberton's collection. Nothing too grand. Nothing that would be missed. She studied her reflection. A stranger stared back, a lady. The servants' stairs were empty. The garden gate unlocked. The Ashford estate bordered Lady Pemberton's property, separated only by a low hedge and a forgotten path. Rose's heart hammered against her ribs as she approached the glowing ballroom. Through French doors thrown open to the cool evening air, she could see everything. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns on the walls. Couples spun in perfect synchronization. Laughter bubbled like champagne. She slipped inside. No one looked twice at the young lady in emerald silk. She was simply another debutante, another hopeful seeking a match. Rose accepted a glass of lemonade from a passing footman, marveling that he bowed to her. She found a quiet corner near a potted palm, content to watch. This was enough. More than enough. Then she saw him. Duke Alexander Hartwell was bored. Monumentally, catastrophically bored. He stood near the card-room entrance, watching the fifth identical debutante of the evening parade past in white muslin and pearls. Each one smiled the same practiced smile. Each one's mama hovered nearby like a hawk eyeing prey. At 32, Alex was the most sought-after bachelor in London. Not merely for his title, though the dukedom of Hartwell was among the oldest in England. Not merely for his wealth, though his fortune could buy half of Mayfair. No, women pursued him because he remained stubbornly, infuriatingly unattached. His friend Lord Pemberton approached with 2 glasses of brandy. Still avoiding the marriage mart, I see. Alex accepted the drink gratefully. Can you blame me? Miss Weatherby just compared my eyes to a summer storm. The fourth weather metaphor tonight. Lord Pemberton chuckled. My wife says you're too particular. Your wife is a saint for tolerating you. Speaking of which, she's looking for you. Something about her cousin's daughter from Bath. Alex groaned. Another one? I'm afraid so. He was planning his escape when he saw her. She stood alone near the palm fronds, a vision in emerald silk. Golden curls caught the light like spun sunshine, but it wasn't her beauty that stopped him mid-step. It was the way she watched everything, not with the calculating gaze of a husband hunter, not with the bored expression of a jaded aristocrat. She watched like someone seeing magic for the first time, like someone who didn't quite belong but desperately wanted to. Who is that? Lord Pemberton followed his gaze. I don't know. I don't recognize her. That was impossible. Between them, they knew every family in the ton. Alex set down his brandy. Introduce me to whom? We don't know who she is. Then I'll introduce myself. Lord Pemberton caught his arm. Alex, that's not done. You can't simply approach an unchaperoned young lady. Watch me. But Alex was already moving through the crowd. The girl hadn't noticed his approach, too entranced by the dancers. Up close, she was even lovelier. Her green eyes reflected the chandelier light like emeralds themselves. She turned suddenly and nearly collided with him. The lemonade in her hand sloshed dangerously. Oh, forgive me, I didn't see you. Her voice was cultured but held a slight nervousness. She dropped into a curtsy that was almost but not quite perfect. The fault was mine entirely. Alexander Hartwell at your service. Her eyes widened. The Duke of Hartwell? Guilty as charged. And you are? She hesitated. Just for a moment. But he caught it. Rose, Miss Rose, Green, like your eyes. I beg your pardon, your name? Rose Green, it suits you. She blushed prettily. You're very forward, your grace, am I? I suppose I am. Dance with me. It wasn't a question. I shouldn't. Why not? Because she glanced around the room as though looking for escape. That's not a reason, Miss Green, come. He offered his arm. She stared at it as though it might bite. One dance, your grace, only one. We'll see about that. He led her onto the floor just as a waltz began. Perfect timing. She placed her hand in his and he felt something electric pass between them. She danced like a dream, light as air, graceful as water. But there was something untutored in her movement. Something genuine that the other ladies, with all their dancing masters, had lost. You dance beautifully. Thank you. But not often, I think. What makes you say that? You actually enjoy it. Most ladies look as though they're performing a duty. Perhaps I simply enjoy my partner. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Her face flamed scarlet. Do you? She looked up at him through her lashes. You're still very forward, your grace. And you still haven't told me who you really are. Her step faltered slightly. I told you. I'm Rose Green, no family name? No connections? You simply appeared at the Ashford ball like Cinderella herself? Every lady has her secrets, indeed. But most ladies' secrets are boring. Yours, I think, are not. The music ended. She stepped back immediately, curtsying. Thank you for the dance, your grace. Where are you going? I must, she paused. I must return to my party. What party? You've been alone all evening. You've been watching me. It was his turn to look slightly embarrassed. I notice everything about you, Miss Green. She backed away another step. I really must go. Another dance, please. But she was already disappearing into the crowd. Alex started after her, but Lady Ashford intercepted him. Your Grace! How delightful. You simply must meet my niece from Yorkshire. By the time he extricated himself, Rose Green had vanished. Like Cinderella, indeed. Rose didn't sleep. She lay in her narrow bed in the servants' quarters, staring at the ceiling, reliving every moment. His hand on her waist. His eyes gray as winter storms but warm as summer rain. The way he'd said her name. Her false name. Oh, what had she done? The Duke of Hartwell. Of all the men in London, why did it have to be him? The richest, most sought-after, most notorious bachelor in England. And he'd noticed her. Wanted to dance with her. Wanted more than one dance. Dawn came too soon. Rose dressed in her servant's clothes, trying to forget the feel of silk against her skin. She entered Lady Pemberton's chamber to find her mistress already awake. Good morning, my lady. Lady Pemberton studied her with those two knowing eyes. You look tired, child. I didn't sleep well, my lady. No? How curious. Neither did I. Rose busied herself preparing tea. In fact, I had the strangest dream. I dreamed I saw a girl who looked remarkably like you at the Ashford ball. In my emerald gown. The teacup rattled in its saucer. My lady, I can explain. Sit down, Rose. The tone brooked no argument. Rose sank into a chair, her legs suddenly weak. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it was wrong. I just wanted to see. She stopped, unable to continue. To see what it was like? Rose nodded miserably. I'll pack my things immediately. I understand you'll want to dismiss me without reference. Did anyone recognize you? No, my lady. I don't think so. Lady Pemberton sipped her tea thoughtfully. The Duke of Hartwell seemed quite taken with you. Rose's head snapped up. You saw? My dear child, everyone saw. He never dances. Ever. Yet he waltzed with a mysterious young lady in green and then spent the rest of the evening looking for her when she disappeared. Oh no, oh yes. The entire ballroom was buzzing. Who was the girl who captured the uncatchable Duke's attention? Lady Jersey is beside herself with curiosity. She's already planning to call on every family in London to identify you. Rose buried her face in her hands. What have I done? Something either very foolish or very brave. Perhaps both. You must dismiss me. If anyone discovers the truth, it will be the scandal of the season. A servant masquerading as a lady, dancing with a duke. I'll leave London. Tonight, I'll go back to Yorkshire. My aunt has a cottage. Running away, Rose? What else can I do? Lady Pemberton set down her teacup. You can tell me exactly what happened. Every detail, Rose did. From the moment she touched the gown to her flight from the ballroom. Lady Pemberton listened without interrupting. He asked for another dance, yes, and you ran. What else could I do? Stay until midnight when my carriage turned into a pumpkin? Lady Pemberton smiled at that. You've created quite a situation, my dear. I've ruined everything. Perhaps or perhaps not. She rose, moving to her writing desk. What are you doing, my lady? Writing to my modiste. If the Duke is going to search all of London for you, we'd better make sure he finds the right girl. My lady? You can't remain a servant now, Rose. The Duke won't give up. I know Alexander Hartwell. When he wants something, he gets it. And he wants you. But I'm nobody. I have no family, no connections, no dowry. You have me. As of this morning, you're my ward. My cousin's daughter from the country. Your parents died of fever, leaving you in my care. My lady, I can't let you lie for me. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to help you. Why? Lady Pemberton's eyes grew distant. Because 40 years ago, another girl wore a borrowed gown to a ball. Only she wasn't brave enough to dance with the man who noticed her. She ran away and spent the rest of her life wondering what might have been. Rose felt tears prick her eyes. This is madness, yes, the very best kind. Now we have work to do. The Duke will come calling, mark my words. And when he does, you'll be ready. A knock at the door interrupted them. The butler entered, his face flushed with excitement. My lady, His Grace the Duke of Hartwell is here. He insists on speaking with Lord Pemberton about a young lady at last night's ball. Lady Pemberton and Rose exchanged glances. Show him to the morning room. Lord Pemberton will receive him shortly. The butler left. Lady Pemberton turned to Rose, whose face had gone pale. Well, that was faster than expected. What do I do? First, you breathe. Second, you put on the morning dress in my wardrobe, the pale green muslin. Third, you remember that you're my ward, Miss Rose Green, visiting from the country, but no buts. We're committed now, unless you'd prefer to run. Rose thought of those gray eyes, that warm hand on her waist. No, I'm tired of running. Good girl, now hurry. Your Duke awaits. Alex paced Lord Pemberton's morning room like a caged tiger. Really, Alex, you're wearing a hole in my carpet. I need to find her, Charles. This mysterious Miss Green who disappeared at midnight. Don't mock me. Lord Pemberton poured himself brandy despite the early hour. I'm not mocking. I'm concerned. You've never acted this way about a woman. She's different. They all say that, no. Alex stopped pacing. She's genuinely different. There's something about her, something real, unaffected. She looked at that ballroom like it was magic. Perhaps it was her first London ball, perhaps, but there's more. I can feel it. The door opened. Lady Pemberton swept in, all smiles. Alexander, how lovely to see you. Though rather early for a social call. He bowed over her hand. Forgive me, Lady Pemberton. I'm searching for someone. The mysterious lady in green? Yes, Charles told me. The entire ton is talking about it. Do you know her? Lady Pemberton settled into a chair, arranging her skirts. As it happens, I might. Alex's pulse quickened. You do? She's my ward. My cousin's daughter from Yorkshire. Poor dear only just arrived in London. Last night was her first ball. Her name? Miss Rose Green. I need to meet her properly. With introductions, chaperones, everything correct. How unlike you, Alexander. Usually you run from propriety. Not this time. Lady Pemberton studied him shrewdly. She's very innocent, you know. Not used to London ways. I won't have her hurt. I would never. Wouldn't you? How many hearts have you broken these past 10 years? None that weren't eager to be broken. Rose is different. Yes, she is. They stared at each other, some silent communication passing between them. She's here, isn't she? Lady Pemberton smiled. In the garden. She loves flowers. Rather appropriate, given her name. Alex was already moving toward the door. Alexander. He paused. Be gentle with her. She's not like your usual conquests, I know. The garden was a riot of October roses, their last bloom before winter. He found her sitting on a bench near the fountain, reading a book of poetry. She wore simple green muslin that made her eyes even more brilliant. Her golden curls were pinned up properly, though a few rebellious strands escaped to frame her face. She looked up as he approached, and he saw panic flash across her features before she composed herself. Your Grace. She rose and curtsied. Perfect this time, Miss Green. Or should I say Miss Cinderella? I don't know what you mean. You fled at midnight. It was 11:30, actually. He laughed. She had wit too, may I? He gestured to the bench. She hesitated, then nodded. He sat beside her, careful to leave proper distance between them. You left rather abruptly. I had a headache, liar. That's very rude, Your Grace, but accurate. She turned to face him fully. What do you want from me? The directness caught him off guard. Every other lady of his acquaintance would have fluttered and flirted, played coy games. Not Rose, I don't know. It was the truth. That's not very reassuring, I know. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the fountain. You're Lady Pemberton's ward? Yes. From Yorkshire? Yes. Your parents? Died fever. The words came too quickly. Too practiced. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. How long have you been in London? Not long. Evasive, truthful. He studied her profile, the delicate line of her jaw, the way she bit her lower lip when nervous. Have dinner with me. What? Not alone. Properly chaperoned. Lord and Lady Pemberton can come. My sister as well, if you'd feel more comfortable. Your Grace, Alex. Call me Alex. I couldn't possibly. Why not? Because you're a duke and I'm... She stopped. You're what? Nobody special. You're wrong about that. He reached out, almost touching her hand before propriety stopped him. You're the most special woman I've met in years. You don't know me. Then let me have dinner with me. Let me court you properly. Court me? The shock in her voice was genuine. Why do you sound surprised? You must know I'm interested. But you could have anyone. Any lady in London. I don't want any lady. I want you. She stood abruptly. I should go inside, Rose. The use of her first name stopped her. I don't understand this any more than you do. But I felt something last night. When we danced. Tell me you didn't feel it too. She turned back and he saw tears threatening in those green eyes. What I felt doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. No, reality matters. Propriety matters. The difference between us matters. What difference? You're a lady. I'm a gentleman. You're a duke, a title. Nothing more. Everything more. Your Grace, you live in a world I've only glimpsed through windows. You don't understand. Then help me understand. She looked at him for a long moment. I can't. She fled back to the house, leaving him alone with the roses and the growing certainty that Miss Rose Green was hiding something. Something significant. And he was going to find out what. The gossip sheets were merciless. Who is the mysterious Miss Green? Lady Whistledown society papers screamed from every breakfast table in Mayfair. Last night's ball at the Ashford estate provided the season's most intriguing mystery. His Grace, the Duke of Hartwell, who famously never dances, was seen waltzing with an unknown young lady in green. The lady vanished before midnight, leaving the Duke visibly distressed. This author has learned she is one Miss Rose Green, ward of Lady Pemberton. But who is Miss Green really? And what power does she hold over London's most elusive bachelor? Rose crumpled the paper in her fist. I can't do this. Lady Pemberton took the paper from her, smoothing it out. Yes, you can. They'll investigate. They'll find out I'm nobody. You're not nobody. You're my ward now, a lie, a necessary fiction. Rose paced the morning room, her anxiety mounting with each step. He's calling again this afternoon. For the third time this week. I keep refusing to see him, which only makes him more determined. Lady Pemberton was right. The Duke had become increasingly persistent, sending flowers daily, calling every afternoon, even writing poetry. Bad poetry, admittedly, but the effort was touching. He out eventually. Perhaps. Or perhaps he'll fall so deeply in love that it won't matter. This isn't a fairy tale, my lady, isn't it? A servant girl catches the eye of a prince. Sorry, a duke, he pursues her relentlessly. It sounds exactly like a fairy tale. In fairy tales, the servant girl is secretly a princess. No, dear, in fairy tales, love conquers all. A commotion in the hall interrupted them. Raised voices. A door slamming. Lord Pemberton entered, his face grave. We have a problem. Rose's heart sank. Someone knows, not yet. But Lady Ashford is suspicious. She's been asking questions about your background. She's written to every prominent family in Yorkshire. Oh, God. Lady Pemberton stood. How long do we have? A week, perhaps 2. That's not enough time. Time for what? Lord Pemberton looked between his wife and Rose. You can't seriously mean to continue this charade. What choice do we have? If the truth comes out now, Rose will be ruined. We'll be ruined for perpetrating the deception. Then send her away, tonight, back to Yorkshire. No. Both women turned to stare at Rose, who had spoken with surprising firmness. I won't run. Not again. Rose, be sensible. I've been sensible my whole life, my lord. I've kept my place. I've served quietly. I've accepted my lot. And for one night, just one night, I dared to dream of something more. That dream will destroy you. Then let it. At least I'll have lived. Lord Pemberton sank into a chair. The Duke won't forgive this deception. No, he won't. Rose's voice was steady now. But I won't compound one lie with another. I'll tell him the truth. Absolutely not. My lady, I must. He deserves to know. He'll expose you to the entire ton. Rose thought of those gray eyes. The gentle way he'd spoken to her. The poetry, terrible as it was. No, he'll hate me. But he won't destroy me. He's too honorable for that. You're gambling everything on his honor? I'm gambling everything on the man I danced with. The one who looked at me like I was magical. Lady Pemberton reached out, taking Rose's hands. My dear girl, you're in love with him. It wasn't a question, yes, and you think he loves you? I think he loves who he believes me to be. Whether that's enough? She trailed off. Only one way to find out. Lord Pemberton stood. This is madness, yes, his wife smiled. The very best kind. When will you tell him? Tonight. He's invited us all to dinner at Hartwell House. I'll find a moment alone with him. Rose, once you tell him, there's no going back. I know. He could react very badly. I know, you could lose everything. My lord, with respect, I have nothing to lose. I'm a servant with ideas above her station. At worst, I'll return to being exactly what I am. And at best, she thought of that waltz. That perfect, impossible waltz. At best, I'll have had one beautiful dream come true. Even if only for a moment. Hartwell House was even grander than Rose had imagined. The entrance hall alone was larger than Lady Pemberton's entire ground floor. Marble columns soared to painted ceilings where cherubs frolicked among clouds. Every surface gleamed with gold leaf and crystal. Rose felt like a sparrow in a palace of peacocks. Breathtaking, isn't it? Alex appeared at her elbow, devastating in evening dress. Overwhelming, that too. Come, let me show you the conservatory before dinner. You did say you loved flowers. He offered his arm. After a moment's hesitation, she took it. The conservatory was a glass paradise. Exotic blooms from every corner of the empire created a riot of color and scent. Orange trees heavy with fruit. Orchids like jeweled butterflies. It's magnificent. My mother designed it. She said every house needed something alive in it. Your mother sounds wonderful. She was. The past tense hung between them. She died when I was 12, consumption. I'm sorry. He led her to a bench surrounded by jasmine. Tell me about your parents. The lie stuck in her throat. I'd rather not. Painful memories. Something like that. He studied her in the lamplight. You know, you're quite mysterious, Miss Green, am I? Extremely. You appear from nowhere. You dance like a dream, but claim you rarely dance. You speak like a lady, but there's something. He paused. Something what? Different about you. Something I can't quite place. Rose's heart pounded. Different good or different bad? Different perfect. Your Grace. Alex. Please, when we're alone, call me Alex. We shouldn't be alone. No. We shouldn't. But he made no move to return to the others. Rose, I need to tell you something. Her breath caught. Yes? I'm not a man given to romantic declarations. I've spent years avoiding them, actually. But since that night at the ball, he took her hands. She knew she should pull away, but couldn't. I haven't been able to think of anything but you. Your Grace, Alex, you don't know me. Then let me know you. Tell me your secrets. Tell me your dreams. Tell me why you look so sad when you think no one's watching. The dinner gong sounded, shattering the moment. We should go, not yet. Rose, I need to know. Is there someone else? Some understanding that prevents you from accepting my regard? No, there's no one else. Then why do you keep running from me? Because how could she tell him? Here, surrounded by his wealth and heritage, how could she say the words that would destroy everything? 'Cause I'm afraid of me? Of how you make me feel? It was the truth, if not the whole truth. How do I make you feel? Like I could fly? Like I could be someone more than I am? You already are more. You just don't see it. The door opened. Lady Pemberton appeared, her face carefully neutral. My dears, dinner is served. The meal was torture. Course after course of delicacies Rose could barely taste. Alex's sister, Lady Margaret, was pleasant enough, though her questions about Yorkshire grew increasingly specific. You must know the Weatherbys of Harrogate? I'm afraid not. The Ashtons? The Moorheads? Surely the Fitzwilliams? Rose has lived very quietly, Lady Pemberton interjected. How unusual. I thought everyone knew everyone in Yorkshire society. Not everyone moves in society. Lady Margaret's eyes sharpened. No, I suppose not. After dinner, the ladies withdrew to the drawing room. Lady Margaret cornered Rose immediately. You're not who you claim to be. It wasn't a question. I don't know what you mean. My dear girl, I've made inquiries. No one in Yorkshire has heard of you. There's no record of Lady Pemberton having a cousin with a daughter named Rose. Rose felt the walls closing in. Perhaps your inquiries were incomplete. Or perhaps you're a fortune hunter who's ensnared my brother with lies. I've never asked him for anything. No, you're cleverer than that. You make him do the pursuing. Rose stood, anger flashing in her green eyes. You know nothing about me. I know you're not good enough for him. You're right. The admission clearly surprised Lady Margaret. You're absolutely right. I'm not good enough for him. I never will be. But not for the reasons you think, then why? Because he's good and kind and honorable. Because he sees the best in people. Because he deserves someone who can stand beside him without shame. Without secrets. My dear, Lady Margaret's voice softened slightly. We all have secrets. Not like mine. Before Lady Margaret could respond, the men entered. Alex came straight to Rose. Would you honor me with a song? There's a pianoforte. I don't play. Of course you don't. Lady Margaret's tone was knowing. Margaret, enough. Alex's voice carried ducal authority. I'm only trying to protect you, brother. I don't need protection, don't you? From mysterious young ladies who appear from nowhere? The tension in the room grew thick as London fog. Lady Pemberton stood. I think we should leave. No. Rose's voice rang clear. No. Lady Margaret is right. I'm mysterious. I did appear from nowhere. Rose. Lady Pemberton's warning was clear. Your Grace. Rose turned to Alex, memorizing every line of his face. Your sister is trying to protect you. Someone should. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not who you think I am. I don't care. You should. Tell me your secret. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Rose laughed, but there was no humor in it. Doesn't it? What if I told you I was nobody? What if I told you I had no family, no connections, no dowry? I have enough money for both of us. What if I told you I've been lying since the moment we met? His face grew still. What kind of lies? The kind that change everything. She moved toward the door. Where are you going? Home. This isn't finished. Yes, Your Grace, it is. She curtsied formally, perfectly, one last time. Thank you for dinner. Thank you for the dance. Thank you for the dream. She left before he could see her tears. 3 days passed. 3 days of Alex sending flowers that Rose returned unopened. 3 days of Lady Pemberton, trying to convince her to maintain the charade. 3 days of Rose lying awake, reliving that waltz, that conservatory, that moment when she almost believed in fairy tales. On the 4th day, everything changed. Rose was in the kitchen, having retreated to her servants' quarters despite Lady Pemberton's protests. She was polishing silver, finding comfort in the familiar work when the butler rushed in. "Hide. Now." "What?" "Lady Ashford is here with half the ton, they know." Rose's blood turned to ice. "How?" "Someone from Yorkshire arrived this morning. A real cousin of Lady Pemberton's. She had no daughter named Rose. Oh God, they're demanding to see you. Lady Ashford is calling for your arrest as an impostor." Rose set down the silver polish with trembling hands. "Where's Lady Pemberton?" "Trying to delay them. But Rose, you must run. The back stairs, no." She stood, removing her apron. "I'm done running." "They'll destroy you, yes, they will." She walked up the servants' stairs one last time, entering the morning room to find it packed with London's elite. Lady Ashford stood at the center, triumphant. "There she is." "The impostor." All eyes turned to Rose. She saw shock, delight, scandal-hungry faces eager for her downfall, and in the corner, standing perfectly still, Alex. Their eyes met across the room. In his face she saw everything: betrayal, hurt, rage, and worse, understanding. "Miss Green," Lady Ashford's voice dripped venom. Or should I say Rose the servant girl? Just Rose, her voice was steady. "You admit it? You're Lady Pemberton's maid?" "I am." Gasps rippled through the room. "You dressed in your mistress's clothes and attended a ball uninvited?" "Yes." "You danced with his grace under false pretenses?" Rose looked at Alex again. His face was marble. "Yes." "You perpetrated this fraud to trap a wealthy husband?" "No." The firmness of her response seemed to surprise everyone. "No, I went to the ball for one reason only: to see what it was like. To dance once. To feel just for an hour what it might be like to belong." "And the Duke?" Rose's voice softened. "The Duke was an accident. I never meant to meet him. I never meant to dance with him. I certainly never meant to." She stopped. "To what?" "To fall in love with him." The room erupted. Ladies gasped. Gentlemen muttered. Lady Ashford practically glowed with vindictive pleasure. "How dare you claim to love your better? He is my better. In every way. That's why I tried to stay away. Why I ran that night. Why I've been trying to tell him the truth." "Lies, all lies." Lady Pemberton stepped forward. "They're not lies. I can attest to Rose's character. She served me faithfully for 5 years. She's educated, accomplished, kind. Her only crime was wanting to attend a ball. Her crime was fraud. Deception. She should be arrested." "For what? Wearing a dress? Dancing at a party?" Lord Pemberton's voice carried authority. "She broke no laws. She broke the rules of society. Rules designed to keep people like her in their place." Everyone turned. Alex had spoken for the first time. "Your Grace, surely you're the most wronged party here, am I?" He moved through the crowd toward Rose, who stood frozen. "You lied to me, yes, you let me believe you were a lady. You believed what you wanted to believe. You made a fool of me. No, you did that yourself, pursuing someone you knew nothing about." They stood face to face now. The room held its breath. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried. That day in the garden. In the conservatory. But every time I started, you'd look at me like I was special. Like I was worth something." "You are worth something. Not in your world. My world can change." Lady Ashford laughed shrilly. "Your Grace, you can't be serious. She's a servant. She's Rose." His voice was quiet but firm. "That doesn't change who she is. No, it doesn't." He reached out, tilting her chin up. "You're still the woman who danced like she was flying, who looked at that ballroom like it was magic, who made me feel something I've never felt before." "Alex, don't. Why not?" "You said you loved me. Did you mean it?" "You know I did. Then nothing else matters." "Everything else matters. Your family, your position, your duty. I decide my duty. And my family can accept my choice or lose me." "You'd give up everything for a servant girl?" "I'd give up everything for you. The question is, will you let me?" The room seemed to spin around Rose. This wasn't how the story went. The prince didn't choose the servant. The Duke didn't defy society. "I can't let you destroy yourself for me. Then let me elevate you instead." To Alex's shock and everyone else's, he dropped to one knee. "Rose Green, or whatever your real name is. Will you marry me?" The room exploded. Lady Ashford fainted. Lady Margaret gasped. Lord Pemberton reached for his brandy. And Rose. Rose did what she always did when overwhelmed. She ran. Alex found her in Hyde Park, sitting by the Serpentine, feeding bread to the ducks. "You're predictable. And you're persistent." He sat beside her on the bench, maintaining proper distance despite the impropriety of the entire situation. That was quite the exit. I'm good at those. You can't keep running, Rose, watch me. He sighed. I made a rather public proposal back there, which you'll retract once you come to your senses. What if I don't want to come to my senses? She finally looked at him. Alex, be rational. You're a duke, I'm a servant. We live in different worlds, so we'll build a new one. It doesn't work that way, why not? Who makes these rules we're all so afraid of? Society. Society is just people. People who can change their minds. Not about this. A duke marrying a servant? It's unprecedented. Good, I hate being ordinary. Despite everything, Rose smiled. You're many things, Your Grace, but never ordinary. Back to Your Grace, are we? What else should I call you? How about husband? Alex, I'm serious, Rose, deadly serious. He turned to face her fully. Do you know what I thought when Lady Ashford revealed the truth? That I'd betrayed you? That it all made sense finally. What? Why you were different? Why you didn't act like every other simpering debutante? Why you looked at that ballroom with such wonder? You weren't playing a part. You were living a dream I had no right to, says who? Rose, you have more grace, more dignity, more intelligence than half the titled ladies in London. That doesn't make me suitable to be a duchess, no, but this does. He took her hand. The way you treat everyone with kindness, from the footman to Lady Pemberton, the way you see through pretense to the person beneath, the way you make me want to be better than I am. You're romanticizing poverty. No, I'm recognizing worth that has nothing to do with birth or wealth. Your sister will never accept me. Margaret will come around. Your peers will shun you. Then they're not really peers worth having. Alex, please, think about what you're sacrificing. I have thought about it. For 4 days I've done nothing but think about it, and I keep coming to the same conclusion, which is that I'd rather live authentically with you than maintain a perfect facade with someone suitable. She pulled her hand away. And when the novelty wears off, when you realize what you've given up, then we'll face that together, or you'll resent me forever. Rose. His voice grew serious. I need you to answer one question honestly. What, do you love me? She wanted to lie, to say no and set him free. But looking into those storm gray eyes, she couldn't. Yes, then marry me. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Everything else is just noise. Your mother would be horrified. My mother would have adored you. How can you know that? Because she married my father against her family's wishes. He was considered beneath her. Irish blood, you see. Trade money, not old wealth. Rose stared at him. I didn't know that. Not many do. But she always told me that love was worth more than approval. That authenticity was worth more than acceptance. She sounds wise, she was. And she would have recognized a kindred spirit in you. A duck waddled up, demanding more bread. Rose crumbled her remaining piece, tossing it into the water. She paused. If I said yes, hypothetically, how would we even proceed? The scandal. We'd weather it, together. We'd start by having Lady Pemberton formally adopt you, give you legal status as a gentlewoman. That's fraud. That's paperwork. Then we'd have a small wedding. Very small. Just family and true friends. All 2 of them, he smiled. Quality over quantity. Then we'd go abroad for a year. Italy, perhaps. Let the scandal die down. When we return, you'll be the Duchess of Hartwell, and society will have found something new to gossip about. You've thought this through. I've had 4 sleepless nights to plan, and if it doesn't work, if society never accepts me, then we'll make our own society. We have enough money to live however we choose. Rose stood pacing to the water's edge. You're asking me to be brave. I'm asking you to trust me. The last person I trusted with my heart died when I was 14. My mother. She was in service too. Worked herself to death trying to give me a better life. I'm sorry. She would have wanted this for me. But she also would have worried. The higher you rise, the further you can fall, or the more you can soar. He stood, moving to stand beside her. Rose, I can't promise it will be easy. I can't promise society will embrace you, but I can promise to stand beside you through whatever comes. To love you whether we're dancing in ballrooms or hiding in gardens. To see you, really see you every day for the rest of our lives. She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. You impossible, wonderful fool. Is that a yes? How can I say yes? How can I doom you to a life of scandal? How can you doom us both to a life of regret? They stood there beside the Serpentine as the sun began to set. The world around them continued its proper, predictable path. Carriages rolled by. Ladies promenaded. Gentlemen tipped their hats. And 2 impossible lovers tried to find a way forward. Ask me again, what? Ask me again. But not as a duke, just as Alex. He smiled, understanding. Rose, I'm a man who loves you. I have no title to offer you in this moment. No grand estate, no fortune. Just a heart that's been yours since you crashed into me at a ball. Will you take it? She looked up at him. This beautiful, impossible man who was willing to risk everything for a servant girl with dreams above her station. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. But it changed everything. Yes, yes, Alex, yes to all of it. Yes to the scandal and the risk and the impossible dream of it all. He pulled her into his arms, propriety be damned, and kissed her there by the Serpentine as all of London looked on in horror and delight. When they finally parted, both breathless, he smiled. You realize what you've done? Destroyed your reputation? Given me a reason to live authentically for the first time in my life. She laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. We're going to shock everyone. Good, London needs more shocking. Your sister will have apoplexy. She'll recover. Lady Ashford will make our lives miserable. Let her try. Rose reached up, touching his face. I love you, you ridiculous, wonderful Duke. And I love you, my brave, impossible Rose. As they walked back toward Mayfair, hand in hand, scandalizing everyone they passed, Rose thought about fairy tales. Maybe they weren't about servant girls who were secretly princesses. Maybe they were about finding someone who saw your true worth regardless of your station. Maybe they were about being brave enough to reach for impossible dreams. And maybe, just maybe, they were about love being stronger than society's rules. 6 months later, the wedding was small as promised. Lady Pemberton had worked miracles with the adoption papers. Rose was now legally Miss Rose Pemberton, gentleman's daughter. It fooled no one who mattered, but it satisfied the legal requirements. The ceremony took place in the Hartwell House Chapel with only 20 guests. Lord and Lady Pemberton, who had stood by them through the entire scandal. Lady Margaret, who had taken 3 months to come around but eventually declared Rose the only woman in London with spine enough to handle her brother. A handful of Alex's true friends who valued happiness over propriety. And surprisingly, Mrs. Hughes, the cook from Lady Pemberton's household, who cried through the entire ceremony. Rose wore her mother's wedding dress, altered and embellished by Lady Pemberton's modiste. Simple white silk with green ribbons, perfect for a duchess who had once been a maid. Alex waited at the altar, more nervous than he'd ever been in his life. Second thoughts? Lord Pemberton stood as his best man. Never. You? Lord Pemberton smiled. My wife would murder me if I let anything interrupt this wedding. She's invested too much in this romance. The music began. Rose appeared in the doorway, radiant. She walked alone, having no father to give her away. But her steps were sure, her head high. She'd made her choice. When she reached Alex, he took her hands. You came, did you doubt? Every second until now. The vicar, who had been heavily compensated for his discretion, began the ceremony. Dearly beloved, we gather here today to witness something extraordinary. He paused, looking at the unlikely couple. The union of two souls who have chosen love over convention, authenticity over acceptance. Rose squeezed Alex's hands. Alexander Hartwell, Duke of Hartwell, do you take this woman to be your wife? To love and cherish in scandal and in acceptance, in wealth and in... He paused, searching for the opposite of wealth that wouldn't insult the bride. In all circumstances, I do. Absolutely, forever. Rose Pemberton, do you take this man to be your husband? To love and cherish, to stand beside despite all of society's objections? Rose looked into Alex's eyes. I do, against all odds, against all reason, I do. The rings were exchanged. Simple gold bands. Rose had refused anything elaborate. I now pronounce you husband and wife, and may God help you both weather the storm that's coming. But Alex was already kissing his bride, and the storm seemed very far away. The wedding breakfast was intimate. Champagne flowed. Toasts were made. Lady Margaret stood, surprising everyone. I owe you an apology, Rose. It's not necessary. Yes, it is. I thought you were after his money. His title. I was wrong. You were after something much more dangerous. Which was his heart. And you've conquered it completely. She raised her glass. To the new Duchess of Hartwell. May you continue to shock society and delight my brother in equal measure. They drank. Rose stood. I want to say something. The small room fell silent. 6 months ago, I stole into a ball wearing borrowed silk. I thought I was stealing just a glimpse of a world I'd never belonged to. Instead, I found something I never expected. She looked at Alex. I found someone who saw me. Not the servant, not the lady. Just me, Rose. She turned to the room. I know the scandal we've caused. I know society will never fully accept me. But I also know that real love, true partnership is worth more than all the approval in the world. She raised her glass. To those brave enough to choose love over convention, to those who see worth beyond titles, and to my husband, who gave up everything to gain something real. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Later, as the sun set, Alex and Rose stood in the garden where they'd had their first real conversation. Regrets never, you? Well, your poetry needs work. He laughed. I'll practice. We leave for Italy tomorrow. I know, a year abroad, then back to face society. We don't have to come back. Rose looked at him. Yes, we do. Running forever isn't living. We'll come back and we'll face them all. The whispers, the cuts, the closed doors. Together. Together. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear. Rose? That night at the ball, when you wore the green dress, what were you thinking? That I wanted to know what it felt like to be seen as valuable, as worthy, and now I know that worth doesn't come from what others see. It comes from who we choose to be. He pulled her closer. Who do you choose to be? Yours. Always. Your Duchess, your wife, your partner, but also still Rose. The girl who loves gardens and poetry and dancing badly. You don't dance badly. I do when I'm nervous. Then we'll practice until you're never nervous again. That could take a lifetime. Good thing we have one. The moon rose over Hartwell House, silver light spilling across the garden where a duke and his unlikely duchess danced to music only they could hear. Tomorrow they would leave for Italy. In a year they would return to face society's judgment. Some doors would close. Others would open. There would be those who never accepted them, and those who admired their courage. But tonight in this garden none of that mattered. Tonight, there was only the truth they'd fought so hard to claim. Love was stronger than convention. Worth wasn't determined by birth. And sometimes, just sometimes, servant girls in borrowed silk could become duchesses. Not because they were secretly princesses, but because they were brave enough to be themselves. The Duchess of Hartwell was hosting tea. This alone would have been unremarkable except for the guest list. Seated in her morning room were 3 duchesses, 2 countesses, and Lady Jersey herself, one of the fearsome patronesses of Almack's. 5 years ago, none of them would have acknowledged Rose's existence. What changed things wasn't time, though that helped. It wasn't Alex's unwavering support, though that mattered. It was Rose herself. She had returned from Italy with perfect Italian, exquisite taste, and a confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was. She had also returned with something else. A son. Little James, with his father's gray eyes and his mother's golden curls, had charmed society in a way his parents never could. More importantly, Rose had used her position to do something unexpected. She'd established a school for servant girls, a place where they could learn to read, write, and acquire skills that might elevate their positions. Not to become false ladies, but to become the best versions of themselves. Lady Ashford had called it scandalous. Lady Jersey called it innovative. The Queen called it admirable. And slowly doors began to open. Your Duchess School, as they call it, is causing quite a stir. Lady Jersey sipped her tea with approval. Good. Stirring is what society needs. You're teaching them to reach above their station. No. I'm teaching them that their station doesn't define their worth. Radical notion. Revolutionary, perhaps. But then I've always been unconventional. The other ladies tittered. It had become fashionable in certain circles to be seen with the controversial Duchess of Hartwell. She was invited to select gatherings now. Not all, never all, but enough. Alex entered, James on his shoulders. Ladies, I apologize for the interruption, but someone insisted on saying hello to his mama. James reached for Rose, who took him despite the impropriety of children at tea. Hello, my darling. Mama, look. The boy produced a rather crushed flower from his pocket. How beautiful. Did you pick this for me? Papa helped. Did he now? Rose met Alex's eyes over their son's head. The look they shared was full of private understanding. Lady Jersey cleared her throat. You know, I never approved of the match initially. Rose smiled. I'm aware, but I must admit you've both proven me wrong. You've created something rather special here. Thank you, though I still think the whole thing was terribly romantic, like something from a novel. The other ladies agreed, sighing over the romance of it all. After they left, Alex found Rose in the garden. their son playing at her feet. Successful tea? Successful enough. Lady Jersey might even approve us for Almac's next season. Do you care? Rose considered. Once I would have given anything to dance at Almac's. Now, I have everything I need right here. She gestured to the garden, their son him. No regrets about the fairy tale not being quite perfect? Rose stood, moving into his arms. But it is perfect. Just not in the way fairy tales usually are. How so? Well, I didn't turn out to be a secret princess. You didn't slay any dragons. Society didn't suddenly embrace us with open arms. Disappointing, really, but she reached up, touching his face. We chose each other despite all of it. We built a life that's ours. We're raising a son who will know that worth isn't about bloodlines, but about character. And you're changing society, one servant girl at a time. Trying to. Though Lady Ashford still calls me an upstart. Lady Ashford can, language, little ears. They watched James chase a butterfly laughing in the sunshine. Do you think he'll understand? When he's older? The scandal of his parents' marriage? I think he'll understand that his parents loved each other enough to risk everything. That his mother was brave enough to reach for an impossible dream. That his father was wise enough to recognize true worth. You make us sound heroic, aren't we? In our small way. He kissed her temple. Perhaps. Though I prefer our quiet happiness to heroics, as do I. They stood together in the garden where their story truly began, watching their son play, their lives intertwined in ways that still made society whisper. But the whispers had lost their sting, because Rose had learned something vital in her journey from servant to duchess. The opinion that truly mattered wasn't society's, it was her own, and in her own estimation, she had everything she'd ever dreamed of and more. Not because she'd married a duke, but because she'd married Alex. Not because she'd elevated her station, but because she'd stayed true to herself. The fairy tale hadn't ended with the wedding. It had simply evolved into something richer, something real. Something worth every scandal, every whisper, every closed door. Because at the end of the day, when the tea guests left and the gossip died down, what remained was this: a family built on truth, a love that transcended station, and a girl who'd worn borrowed silk to a ball and found her heart's desire. Not a perfect ending, a real one, which was infinitely better. If you've stayed with Rose and Alex's story until the end, my heart is full of gratitude. This tale of impossible love reminds us that sometimes the greatest courage isn't in fighting dragons or discovering royal bloodlines. Sometimes it's in being exactly who you are in a world that demands you be someone else. Sometimes it's in choosing love over approval. Sometimes it's in believing you deserve your dreams, whatever your station. We all wear borrowed silk sometimes. We all dream of ballrooms we think we'll never enter. But Rose's story tells us that worth isn't determined by birth or wealth or title. It's determined by the choices we make, the love we dare to accept, the authentic life we dare to live. In this Regency world of rigid rules and shocking scandals, two people found something timeless. They found that love, real love, sees past every disguise to the truth beneath. That second chances exist for those brave enough to take them. That families can be made from choice as much as blood. That redemption comes not from hiding who we are, but from embracing it. And that sometimes, just sometimes, servant girls in borrowed silk really do get their happily ever after. Not because they were secret princesses all along, but because they were brave enough to believe they deserved love exactly as they were. May we all be so brave. May we all find our own Alex, who sees our true worth. May we all have the courage of Rose, who dared to dream beyond her circumstances, and may we remember that the greatest transformations come not from changing who we are, but from finally allowing ourselves to be seen. Thank you for sharing in this journey of love, courage, and beautiful impossibility. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in love that conquers convention, if you dream of a world where worth isn't measured by titles, please share this story. Like it if it made you smile. Subscribe for more tales that warm the heart and feed the soul. Comment with your favorite moment, or tell me, do you believe servant girls in borrowed silk can find their happily ever after? I believe they can. I believe we all can. With love and infinite possibility, your storyteller. Remember, dear hearts, you are worthy of every dream you dare to chase. Dance at every ball, even if you have to borrow the silk. Love fearlessly, even when the world says you shouldn't. And always, always believe in your own happily ever after.